Hey, boo. It's Monday. Again. Seems to me like it's always either Monday or it's going to be Monday soon. Or it was just Monday yesterday. Or something like that. At any rate, Dean McClung, Archer Monologues. Let me remind you, monologues means I talk and that's it. You know, like radio, you turn on the channel or the station, the radio station, and, you know, somebody's there and they're like talking. And, you know, sometimes I play music or whatever. I don't play, well, sometimes. I might throw in a song or two here and there. Bit of music. Probably something I made myself, you know. I wrote this song. I played this song. I sang this song. I made the music for this song. I did that. Because, you know, I do that stuff. I'm a sounds maker. Well, part of what I do. And I do lots of things. So, here we are. Monday morning again. What's the date? It's like October the 3rd, 2016. Where did the time go? Should catch some time in a bottle. Got that from a song. Just came to my head. Like, there's a song, Time in a Bottle. What the heck's that guy's name? Name that singer in one note. Old timer's disease. Can't remember his name. It's right on the tip of my nose. Should be on the tip of my tongue, but, you know, hey, it's not. But, not, no. Snot? Aren't you just funny? Anyways, let's think. We like to talk about, you know, important things, like political crap and social bullshit and government crimes, bullies. We like to talk about bullies sometimes, not always. Sometimes we just like to say, you know what? Fuck it. Oops. Should I label this show explicit because I said the word, you know, fuck in it once? Well, twice now. If you can't handle it, you know, then you're just probably like, well. I mean, come on. It's just words, right? It really bothers me that people get all upset and like hysterical. And, you know, like when I, you know, get the rope, we're a lynch mob, you know, and just lynch people and crucify them and shit. Because, like, wow, he said that. I think a lot of people just totally ignore the very basic principle of living in a free society, and that, especially in America, which has like a law that the government, you know, has to obey, which says, you know, these people can say whatever they want because it's called free speech. It's like a right or something. Now, let's be clear on this. The word right attaches to the political system that may or may not be in effect in your country. If you live in a place like, I don't know, Iran, then you might not have free speech there. And they might not even have a constitution. They might have something that they call a constitution, but it may not be like a real good one. It might be like a pretty crappy constitution. But anyway, in the United States of America government, United States is the name of the government, by the way. the union, the name of the union is like United Mine Workers of America. It's like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean there's a lot of mine workers that are that. It just means that there's a union hall and a union offices where there's some union people that are like in charge of the union. And, in theory, look out for the best interests of their members, which would be miners. I mean, like coal miners, for example, not like under 18 miners. That's a different word. It's spelled differently, even. So, what we have here is this dilemma in America is because we actually have a constitution which, the government is obligated by oath to obey and do as it's told because it's the law that governs the government. Doesn't have anything to do with me and you. I mean, unless you work for the government. Like the mayor or the governor or the senator or president or whatever. You have to obey that law. It's law the founding fathers, I like that phrase, founding fathers, that's interesting. They let's just make a constitution and that'll be the law that governs the government so that the government will know. Well, like anybody who's in government, like presidents and senators and stuff, they'll know what they can do and what they cannot do, and what they're allowed to do, and what they must do, and what they must not do, and so forth. So, the First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law, involving like the violation of freedom of speech of every human being in the country. And they're basing that on a universal principle of, every human being on the planet, has the right to, say whatever. The only difference is in, like, say, Iran or Russia. Well, in the old Russia, I don't know about the new. I'm thinking in the new Russia is pretty much like. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't live in Russia, so not my problem. Doesn't mean I don't, I'm not curious and don't want to know what's going on in Russia and what kind of life people are living there and what kind of political system is running that country. Pretty good chance that the Rothschild family's running every country, no matter which one I mention, except maybe for 2 or 3, like Cuba or Syria or whatever. All right, so anyways, it's kind of a Monday, it's a Monday kind of day. Like, here I am. Probably had some thoughts in my head when I woke up, like, a vague recollection of maybe the dream I had while I was sleeping, my miserable little 5 or 6 hours. At any rate, the Constitution is for the government. Okay? Just get that in your head, because that's true. Right? It is right. It's true. It is true. I mean, everybody that, created the freaking Constitution and formed the government and, and called it, this is a government for America, and we're going to call it the United States. Meaning the union of states. Which back then meant sovereign nation states. Meaning, Virginia was a country. Pennsylvania was a country. And in carrying that over forward to today, California is a country. Texas is a country. Sovereign country. You don't, I have a country. I have the rights that countries have. And it's written down in the legal documentation from the very beginning of this country. A nation with states and nation states that joined the Union and became a part of a larger unity, a larger entity. But the states are still sovereign nation states. But legally speaking, unless you want to count some of the changes they've made in the Constitution, which to me it seems a little weird that you have a Constitution created by the founders of the country, the people who established the government in the first place, can, this is the way you're going to do this, people. This is the way it's going to be done. And we're telling you, you can't make any laws. Congress, which is supposed to be making the laws, and presidents are not supposed to be doing that. It's all kind of topsy-turvy now. It's kind of like mayhem. It's almost like chaos. It's it's like in the government itself is like anarchy. Excuse me. Got that Monday morning throat. At any rate, union, that means a bunch of things collected into one. But doesn't change the fact of the individual. Like if I join a union, let's just say there are artists who form a union, the artists union. I'm still an individual human being. I'm still a sovereign individual human being because, I'm not the union. I am just a part of it. I am one of the people that created the union, for example. In fact, we did have a union of sorts at one time here locally. We call it the League of Independent Artists, and the title meant independent, meaning every artist was independent of the union we called the League. And we were trying to form a charter for that, like little list of things we're supposed to do, like this little list of things that are responsibilities of the union and responsibilities of the members, so on. And some of the people that were involved in the writing of the charter for this artist league wanted to put in their conditions, like if we don't, if the league doesn't like what you're saying or doing, as an artist, if for example somebody painted a picture of a pile of poop and or said something nasty in their art, in their painting or writing and whatever, then they could be dismembered from the league. Well, and they wanted to add a codicil to the charter that said, you don't have free speech if you belong to this organization. That didn't fly. You know why it didn't fly, of course? Because free speech. Duh. So the people who wanted to put that in there were like, they were good intended people. They meant well, but they were like just not thinking. They were like thinking, oh yeah, let's make a dictatorship out of this. Let's not respect people's rights. I mean, we're artists who, by our very own organization, which is a group of us getting together and say, let's all associate with each other and kind of, do things together. And that group is going to tell one individual artist that's a member, equal member of that league, that you don't have freedom of speech, buddy. Well, let me tell you something. Any artist that thinks that that's okay is not an artist. That person might raise to the rank of maybe being a fucking bully, because the whole idea of being an artist is free expression. You express whatever you want freely, because that's your job. I'm going to paint a picture of a pile of poop. All right then, go for it. That doesn't mean people have to like it. That doesn't mean anyone's going to buy it. I mean, I painted a picture of a pile of poop. And I said, here's my painting. And every so often I'd go to the headquarters of the league and put my work up on the easel or wall or something of the place. And the managers of was an art gallery, private business. And I put up a painting, and it was a rather large one. It was 30 by 40 inches. I hung it up on on the stand there, and okay, people, what do you think? And they said stuff, and they came up with all kind of interpretations of what they saw, and some were wrong, and a couple were pretty close. Oh, that looks like a pile of poop. Good deal, because that's what it is, and that's what I intended it to be. Well, it's not a pile of poop; it's a painting of a pile of poop, because paintings are not whatever you're depicting. Like photographs are not people, for example. They're just images of people. So anyway, yeah, you got freedom of speech, and an artist that's not in favor of everybody having free speech and the ability to exercise that free speech, like, express yourself any way you want, and if that includes if you want to paint a pile of poop, then paint a pile of poop. Doesn't mean anybody has to like the painting. And it certainly doesn't mean there's any real poop there, unless you're like that guy or whoever it was that smeared shit all over the painting of Jesus or whatever they did back in the. It's been a long time ago, a while. Well, in the case of that one, it wasn't like it was his picture of Jesus, or so he said, I want to put some poop on it, and I smear some poop on there, and apparently used real shit. So it's like people that, oh, that's just disrespectful to Jesus and religion, Christianity, whatever. All right, well, it was his picture to begin with, and he wanted to put some poop on it, so good for him. I mean, that's what you want to do, but don't expect people to want to buy that and hang that in their living room, because it's going to stink the whole place up pretty bad, and it's just not. It's going to be disgusting, and nobody's going to want to come and visit that person anymore. And people living in the house are going to say, "God damn, what stinks?" And oh, it's the painting, and then they're going to want to throw it out in the garbage or something. Get rid of it. I suppose there's ways to preserve a painting of real poop by putting 15 layers of varnish over it or something, I guess. I don't know. Point is, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. An artist is the champion of that principle. And if he's not, then he's just not being a real artist, is he? He's being a bully and a dictator. And that's just not the way we do art. It's just, if you're that, it's like Adolf Hitler was like a painter or something for a while, they tell me. And though I don't remember ever actually seeing any real paintings of examples of, I don't know, what happened to those paintings? Did they destroy them? That's a shame if they did, because even though we despised Hitler and all that and hated his guts and wished he was dead and shit, and he is at this point. I imagine he is. I mean, I can't imagine him still being alive and like that old, living in Uruguay or wherever. Just can't imagine it. As opposed to George W. Bush, who's still alive and well in Texas, and people haven't killed him yet or anything. I mean, they haven't arrested him, put him in prison, had him executed as a war criminal, whatever. Which is really kind of sick, if you ask me, because Americans, well, at the least the Iraqis should have arrested him at some point. And then, you're under arrest for war crimes against us. You murdered our people, you bastard. So I kind of got off the track here. But anyway, freedom of speech. Freedom of expression. If you're an artist and you believe in that 100%, there's no exceptions. You don't say, oh, well, you can do anything you want, you can make any kind of painting you want, except you just can't paint pictures of, naked 12-year-olds. Oops. Yeah, I can't. And any artist that's a real artist and has any self-respect as an artist would say, all right, do what you want. Same goes for the artist who happens to be a photographer or makes art from photographs, digital photographs. Today, mostly digital photographs. If you can't do it, then you don't have the right. And if you know, you can I have the right to freedom of speech, but I can't say whatever I want. Then, in which case, you know, you don't have the right to freedom of speech at all, do you? So that's sort of a contradiction. Oh, I have the right to say whatever I want, except I can't say certain things because that asshole over there wants to be a fucking Nazi and tell me I can't. And you know, and he might be like bigger than me and have a gun and shit. But like, I'm the governor of this country. You know, I'm the president, and you can't do that, or I'll kill you. And like, yeah, which then you're not free, are you? Having the right is only, you know, significantly true if you can actually exercise that right, like the right to marry, for example. This is another show later on, but if it's a right, then you can do it if you want. You're not if you don't want. It's freedom. It amazes me how in America, the land of the free and home of the brave, yeah, right, we can, and we have a right to freedom of speech, and then a lot of people think that means they have the right to, you know, commit like civil crimes against people, like libel and slander and defamation and stuff, and get away with it, like on the internet. Oh, we're on the internet, we can, you know, attack you and you know, call you things that you're not and lie about you and shit, like call you bad names, which of course are not true in some cases. And then, you know, they get sued for libel and taken to court, and the judge and the jury, or whatever, if you have a jury, and the judge, you know, at the end, the judge is going to say, you've been found responsible for libeling this guy, and, you know, you're not allowed to do that. And he sued you, and he just won. And now you're going to give him $10 million and an apology. Oh, my God. Yeah. Means, you know, you're going to give everything you have. If you don't have $1 million in cash, then, you know, you can borrow it, I guess, but you're going to give him $10 million, or we're going to freaking take your house and give it to him, because he owns everything, because you libeled him and slandered him and defamed him, and you're not allowed to do that and get away with it because it's a civil crime. You've injured his reputation, if nothing else. I think the socialists have changed that a little bit and made it like, well, you actually have to actually physically harm somebody to be responsible for libeling someone. Like, well, we won't even get into that. Socialists are fucking insane. Should take them all out in a field somewhere and just beat them with sticks. Oh, talk about dictatorship. Nah, self-defense. We call it self-defense. Anyway, freedom of expression is the basic principle and the core issue surrounding any artist who's actually a real artist. I mean, if you're an artist and, you know, and the government passes a law saying you can't paint pictures of poop, then, you know, guess what? I'm going to paint lots of pictures of poop, because the government can't tell me that. Not legally, not rightfully. It can do it because, you know, the government, let's just call the United States government what it is. A terrorist organization, a tyranny, an authoritarianism. It's evil, if you believe in evil. Bad, wrong, evil, criminal, disgusting, psychopathic maniacs. Freedom of speech. If you don't believe in freedom of speech for everybody, then you don't believe in freedom of speech for anybody, including yourself. So shut the fuck up. Get what I mean? Catch my drift, asshole? Alright. So, the United States government, in its great evil wisdom, has decided, we're going to like make it a crime to talk to people. So freedom of speech doesn't apply to you because you want to talk to people that we don't want you to talk to for whatever reason. In this case, let's say we don't want you talking to teenage girls because, you know, we don't like that, because only we have the right to, you know, indoctrinate little kids and girls and teenagers and shit. What they're afraid of is, they're afraid I might tell this teenage girl, like, you know, well, guess what? Your government is lying to you, and they're wrong, and they're hurting you. They're doing bad things, and, you know, you should be upset about that. Like dress codes, for example. You know. the government of the United States and the states, the various states and counties and so forth in the country, like dress codes. I'm like, excuse me, dress codes are not illegal. They're illegal. They're not allowed in a freaking free society. Because if I'm not free to wear whatever I want, or not to wear anything at all for that matter, it's not freedom to dress as I please, then, is it? Sort of a contradiction. You're free to wear whatever you want, except you can't wear that. Huh? What? No, that is not freedom. That is tyranny. That is evil. That is bullying. That's a dictatorship. And it's wrong. And it's not allowed in America. Because the Constitution says, no, you can't do that to the government. And the government says, oh, okay, well, we'll do that then. The problem is, in America, they just ignore that law and break it a lot every day. Millions of times a day, actually. And, do it anyway. And my problem with that is, nobody seems to be, upset enough to stop them. Like, if someone's robbing you, like, regularly, like every day, your neighbor comes over to your house and kicks in your door and points a gun in your face, give me your money! And if he does this like every day, and at some point you're going to get fed up with that shit because they're wrong and they shouldn't be doing that. It's against the law to do that. And so what are you going to do? Well, one of these days he's going to come and kick in your door, point a gun at you, and you're going to blow his head off with your gun. Bam! You're dead, fucking thief. In other words, I have the right not to be robbed, and if you try to rob me, you might just get killed. Like, bam, you're dead, kind of thing. You're not going to be robbing me anymore, asshole. Except when it comes to the government, and then, the government just keeps on robbing people every day, and nobody's mad enough to stop it. I'm pretty sure there are millions of people in America that know that they're not liable for the income tax, for example. It's just not. Oh, by the way, I got Dave Champion's book. It's called Income Tax, Shattering the Myths. Dave Champion. Finally got that. I'm reading it, and I'm going to do a little review of it and use it as a resource for some of my own, shall we say, opinions or my own conclusions, about the income tax and the IRS, the terrorist organization known as the IRS, a criminal organization that's been robbing Americans for like 100 years or more. Committing crimes against the people. And the Constitution says, can't do that. And they're doing it, and they've been doing it for over 100 years, and people are like, that's not right. And then they just let them keep doing it. There are other things, like the NSA, the spy organization, the criminal terrorist traitorous organization, spying on us. We know they are. We know it. Mr. Snowden, bless him, actually revealed that to us in factual evidence that, yeah, there it is. They are. And I've known that for quite a while. Most Americans, if they're not got their head up their ass, knows that the government is spying on them. And other things, like TSA agents at the airport, raping us and shit. They're like, oh, that's not allowed in a free society, but nobody does anything to stop them because we need a couple of million people that are actually pissed off enough about this crime against us to actually do something about it. Like, go down to the airport and arrest those bastards. Take them off to jail somewhere. You're not doing that anymore. It's illegal. And it boggles the mind because, they just keep doing it, and Americans like total wimps with no spine or balls or anything. And it's like, oh yeah, it's wrong, we don't like it, but yeah, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, what? Grab a beer and watch football? Yeah, we'll complain about the taxes that we know we don't owe. Well, a lot of people think they owe it, but they don't. Because they're like, bloomin' frickin' idiots. So anyway, try to tell them, and they don't listen to you. But they'll listen to the IRS tell them lies, and their lies. They'll believe their lies, but They won't believe the truth, which is given to them in documented, proven, factual evidence that that's what they're doing. So if you don't have the freedom, I know, segue here, segue there, whatever. So here's the deal. If you got a problem, okay, if you got a problem and somebody's hurting you and doing bad things to you and like robbing you and killing you and beating you and shit, and don't walk around telling me you're free when you're not. That's just stupid. You don't like it? Get together with some friends and neighbors, fellow human beings, and say, you're done doing that's wrong. Don't do that anymore, and then make those people stop doing it by whatever means necessary, which you have a right to do, especially in America, which it says right in the laws that governs the government, and we know what those laws are. It's like, no, you can't rob us because it's a crime, and we're not going to let you do it anymore. Or you're imposing dress codes on us or our children. If you've got a kid in public school and 15-year-old teenager, whatever, boy, girl, doesn't matter, and they go to school and they're like, we got a dress code here, you can't wear that. Take it off. I wish I had that kind of power, that I could actually have someone, come into my place, my public place, and, I can walk up to them and say, you know what? I don't like that shirt you're wearing. Take it off right now. Let's see your boobies. Now, you're thinking, you never thought of that, did you? You never realized that. They're telling you to take it off because, they want to see your tits. Perverts. I'm talking principals and stuff of schools. Yeah. Well, you're going to say, they didn't mean take it off right there in the middle of the school, like so everybody can see your tits and shit, or your bra if you're wearing one. They'll probably give you a place to do it, like go in the bathroom there and change your clothes. Put on something that's not offensive to us. Us Nazi bastard pig motherfuckers. Dress codes, not allowed in America. Sorry, freedom means freedom. Look it up. Shall make no law. See, dress codes are considered almost equal to a law because they exist, they're a rule, and if you don't obey it, then they punish you. Like, you're expelled from school until you decide to wear the right clothes. That's not America. That's not freedom. Sorry. If you think that's okay, then you're a fucking idiot. And someone should just take a stick and beat the shit out of you. Am I advocating violence? It's metaphor. Metaphor. I don't mean really take a stick. I don't like a physical stick and beat the crap out of their brains. Knock some sense into them, yeah, but don't hit them with a stick. That's a crime. It's called battery. It's not called assault, by the way. Assault is when I say I'm going to beat the fuck out of you when I'm standing in front of you with a baseball bat. That's assault. I'm going to beat the crap out of you with this baseball bat. And you're like saying, well, there he is right in front of me, and he's going to swing it. There it comes, and that's assault. But as soon as that bat hits your head, that's called battery. For some reason, the word battery has disappeared out of the law books. How did that happen? Because that's what it is. And then now it's just assault is like anything that you say or whatever. Or do. Like, see it in the newspaper and on the TV news channel and stuff. It's all the time saying, he's been charged with sexual assault. What does that mean? Well, according to the real definition of the words, it means he said to you, as he stood over you, perhaps with a gun, and I'm going to fuck you now. That's assault because he's in imminent proximity of doing exactly what he just said. But once he fucks you, then that's battery. And I find it odd that I don't think that there's a word like rape is not in the law anymore. What happened to that word? That's what it is. If you if you put a dick in somebody's cunt and they're against their will, then that's called rape. Why did they take that word out of the law? Now it's just, assault. Which doesn't mean that. It's just insulting to any intelligent person, any literate person, that to call something sexual assault, that it means anything like looking at them sideways, with or without their clothes on, all the way up to, he actually fucked her eyes out against her will in an alley or whatever. See, the laws are like insane. People that make these laws are fucking insane. Because that's not what the word means. Words mean what they mean. So, if you're an artist and you don't believe in freedom of speech and you don't believe that people have the right to exercise that right, then you're not an artist, and you're probably not too much of a human being either. Pond scum, more like. I know you mean well, but you're wrong. And you shouldn't be wrong. I mean, you should stop doing that, because it's just stupid. Alright, that might be my opinion. It might actually be retarded, which is a legitimate word. It used to be in a frickin' manuals for psychology manuals and stuff. Why did they change that? Because it's not politically correct. Fuck that shit. Say what you mean what you say. Don't lie, and don't change the meaning of words. You're not allowed to do that. Once you change the meaning of the word, it's another word. It's not the same word anymore. It's like, at least add an X at the end of it or something. When you spell it out. Alright, so, time for a break. Hold on. Alright. I've said enough. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. Stop right here. Because I was on a roll, and the roll stopped. So we got a end point. So I'm just going to stop here, post this up to the radio station, and you can listen. And I'll talk to you later.